What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. In this video, we are looking at the MLB Draftkings Fanduel and Prizepicks plays for Tuesday, August 16th. It was a good day yesterday if you used the Prizepicks plays. Went 4-0 with the 3 nerfies and then the over fantasy on Luis Castillo. Braves Mets nerfie hit, Athletics Rangers hit, and the Giants Diamondbacks hit. So it was a 4-0 sweep, 10x if you put them in a power play, or 5x if you put them in a flex. Hopefully you made some money, and it's been a minute since we had a complete sweep, so glad I was able to get that done for you guys. Let's keep it going today. Hit the like button if you enjoy the video. Subscribe if you haven't already. Just check out Twitter for updates. If you want to join for football, there's a couple, there's like 15 passes left for the discount. You can check that out down below in the description. Let's go ahead and get into this 13-game slate. So starting off today, looking over our fantasy labs, we got a bunch of stud pitchers going at it today. The main slate starts at 7:05 on DraftKings with there being 13 games. First one up, you have Springs against Cortez. Cortez definitely a viable option, but there are some other better picks in my opinion. Like, he's been fine all season for the Yankees. He's been a little bit worse recently, but he's still a good pitcher. But at 99, there's some other guys right around his range that give you more strikeout upside, and I just like them a little bit better. That being said, I have no interest in the Rangers or in the Rays bats, and on the Yankee side, don't have much interest besides the guys that you expect to hit well against lefties like Judge, Donaldson, maybe Andujar at $2,900 if he's batting fifth makes like a nice value pick. Red Sox against the Pirates second game. Pivetta is a okay option for tournaments. There's some other cheap guys that I like, but he definitely has cooled off since he got off to a good couple starts, a good couple of months with the Red Sox. On their side, Verdugo's been red hot. He's batting cleanup for them, so he looks like a good play at $3,000 on both sides. Next game up, we got the Cubs and the Nats. Any pitcher that's been as bad as Corbin has been this year, I'm surprised he's not. He's still getting starts every 5 days. But the Nats really don't care, and they don't have much choice right now. On the Cubs side, this will benefit them a lot. I like their lineup a ton. One of the better stacks today, probably one of my favorite stacks, maybe right behind the Blue Jays, so maybe another team. But their value looks great. Ian Happ's been crushing the ball. He's only $4,300. You got a cheap catcher at the bottom. Madrigal's also been good in terms of just getting on base, getting run score, making contact. So he looks good. And then even like Reyes looks solid at 28. Don't have much interest in the Nationals bats against Steele. Maybe you can look to Robles at his price tag, and I believe they called up their stud shortstop. So we'll see how long it takes for him to make his Nationals debut after they brought him over from the Padres. The Blue Jays against the Orioles. The Orioles been very good this season, surprisingly. Been one of the best stories in baseball this season over the last couple of months. But Dean Kramer's going at it against his powerful Blue Jays lineup. I think they look like a great stack today. Gurriel's been solid. He was projected at 6, but with Springer back, I think he batted like third yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. But Gurriel, another couple of hits yesterday, continues to hit the ball well. He looks solid. You can pay up for Vlad if you wanted to at 59. And like Bichet at shortstop looks solid. The Guardians against the Tigers. Plesac is cheap at $7,200. He looks like an okay SP2 option, but he just doesn't give you a lot of strikeout upside. There's some other guys that I think you can consider. On the Guardian side, they look okay in terms of stacking. There's some other teams I like, even though they have a 5.2 total. Some of these guys have kind of cooled off recently, so there's still always a chance that they can go off, but they typically are guys that will just make contact, and not a ton of power hitters besides like Jose Ramirez throughout this lineup, especially when you have like Jimenez batting cleanup for them, and then Rosario only has, I think, like 7 or 8 home runs on the season. Not too much power in this lineup. Next game up, we have the Braves against the Mets. Taijuan Walker against Charlie Morton. Morton looks like my preferred pitcher. In this one, between the two, he gives you good strikeout upside. He's faced the Mets a lot. He's a veteran. He knows how to get the job done. Only concern is that he's looking at a lot of lefties. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lefties. 6 lefties with a switch hitter in there. Actually 7 with 2 switch hitters with Escobar and Lindor. So platoon advantage isn't on his side, but I think he can still make hay. And on Prizepicks, his fantasy is really low, so that's one where you can consider him, especially with them being favored. If he gets the win quality start, won't have to do too much to hit his over on Prizepicks. Next game is the Twins against the Royals. Twins look solid today against Greinke, guy that pitches to contact, not a strikeout guy. So you got some cheap guys at the bottom like Jake Cave at 2K, middle of the lineup. You have some more expensive guys, but Kepler played well yesterday, finally starting to break out of his slump, and Polanco at 42, and Luis Suarez at 38. Like the Cardinals against Freeland, the two guys that you want to really lock in on if you're looking to stack this team are Goldschmidt, Arenado. You can make a case for Pujols the way he's been hitting the ball. A couple of home runs for him. Over his last 10, I think he's up to batting over 300 with like 3 or 4 home runs during that stretch. We got two terrible pitchers going at it in Texas. Definitely prefer the Texas side than the Athletics side, just with how unknown this Athletics lineup is, top to bottom for the most part. You got some guys that we've heard of, but like Stevenson and Bolt and Jonah Bride and some of these guys just there should be in the AAA system, if by all means. But Athletics just trying to tank, so they're just trying to get their money's worth out of these young guys. Definitely like some of these Rangers guys instead. You have, even though it's lefty, Nate Lau is still super cheap. You got a bunch of guys below, right around 2K at the bottom of the lineup. If you needed Culberson as a value or Duran as a value, or two guys in the outfield that are 2K flat. We have Brennan Woodruff against Ryan Pippoit going at it in this one. Don't have much interest in the bats in this game. I think both pitchers are solid, especially Woodruff with all the strikeout upside that he gives you. He looks okay, but now we're getting into some of these stud pitchers with Dylan Cease, who continues to just carve teams up. Another start for him last time out without giving up more than 2 earned runs. He hasn't done that since May, so that's just been an unreal stretch for Cease, and he can definitely continue that again today at home against the Astros, who their lineup looks a little bit weaker now that Brantley is out for the season in terms of at least strikeouts, as he was a guy that had one of their lowest strikeout rates. He was always a guy that puts the ball in play for most of the time, and how they replaced him with like Dubon and some of these guys that will strike out more. So Cease looks solid. I like him a lot at 10-4 the way he's been going. And I think you can get your SP2 in the next game with you want to pay out for Robbie Ray against the Angels, or you can even go with Jose Suarez, who's pitched well recently. Last 3 starts been great, and at home it's a good ballpark to pitch in. And he still gives you okay strikeout stuff, and 7K really, really cheap. And last game we got Merrill Kelly against Jakob Junis. Junis looks like a solid option at 67, but his pitch count with what Gabe Kapler does with his guys, it's been difficult to trust besides Rodon, so I don't have much feel for him. Going back over to DraftKings, first guy I'm putting in is my pitchers, Dylan Cease at 10-4, and then I'm going down to, you have Suarez here at 7K, you also have Quintana at 78, but I like the way Suarez has been pitching. He's at home, just barely above 4 ERA. He's done really well against the Mariners this season, 2 starts, 2 games against them, 1 start, 1 relief appearance, but 15 strikeouts and just over 10 innings, .87 ERA, just 1 earned run given up, which was a home run, and 15 Ks also, so I do like him. We do have some strikeouts in the Mariners lineup. And then Dylan Cease just continues to pitch really well, sub 2 ERA. You got to go all the way back to May 24th, where he got lit up against the Red Sox. Since then, he's been absolutely dominant, the best pitcher in baseball during that stretch over the last 3 months. So getting over to our bats today. First one that I'm going to go with, Nick Madrigal is projected to lead off for the Cubs today against a terrible lefty in Corbin. If that's the case, then it's tough for me not to go with him. Second base is usually a position where you can go cheap, and Madrigal at $2,500 does allow me to do that. 364 over his last 10. He's not a guy that'll hit for power, but he's been getting on base, doesn't strike out a ton at all. Just 6 Ks in his last 33. Gives you a little bit of speed, 2 stolen bases on the season, but he's getting more playing time now. And over his last 4 games, he has 6 hits, 3 runs scored, couple RBIs, just been solid for them. So against Corbin, expect him to get on base, hopefully. Maybe get some runs scored. Over at third base, you got some powerful guys at the top end, which have some of these guys have not great matchups, like Riley against Walker. Bregman has a tough matchup. Josh Rojas is way expensive for just playing in cores recently. But the guy that I would go with is Arenado at 58 if I was going to pay up for anybody. He's going up against his former team, so he has that in his mind. He's been one of the better hitters over the last couple of weeks, last 10 games, 5 home runs during that stretch, just 7 strikeouts, up to a 297 average on the season, even going 0 for 8 in his last couple of games. He's still batting well over 300, 330 in his last 10, so know how hot he's been before that. No surprise he's done well against his former team, 357, couple of home runs. You definitely expect some of these games. That might have been a series in cores, so he definitely was in cores, so not surprising with how used to Arenado is to playing in those conditions. But even at home, he's done well this year, 299 average. So he's probably my favorite pay up at third base today. In the outfield, start with Ian Happ. Get to another Cubs guy at $4,300. He's been great recently. 368, 3 home runs, up to a 1.165 OPS. Last game, couple of bombs for him, up to 6 RBIs last 3 games, making great contact. And he also gives you some speed with 6 stolen bases. And he does have some strikeout issues, but you don't have to worry about that too much with Corbin at this point of his career. And then last guy I'll go with is Lourdes Gorilla. He's a guy that I probably continue to play a lot. He's just been steady for the Blue Jays all season, up to a 310. Had a couple more hits, a couple more RBIs yesterday. His last 10, he's batting almost 300. Just been steady. Maybe doesn't give you as much power as some of these other guys, but still you can kind of rely on him to most times to be somewhat productive. And the price tag is a lot better than like Teoscar, who is $900, almost $1,000 more than him. So that's what I got over on DraftKings. Go ahead and look at FanDuel. So pretty similar on FanDuel, except Marcus Simeon continues to be drastically underpriced in compared to other second baseman options. He's cheaper. He's only $2,400, which is crazy. He's cheaper than Duran. He's cheaper than Lau's pretty affordable, but he's lefty-lefty, so you don't want to play him. Cheaper than like Baez and Iglesias and all these guys that he shouldn't be. So even Odor is more expensive than Simeon, batting leadoff with some speed, power combination that he gives you, even though he's having a disappointing season. Arenado at 39 looks like a great pay-up third base option today. No problem with him. And then Ian Happ is super affordable at 31, and then I went with Gurriel again at 3K, even if he's batting 6, which wouldn't be surprised, but we could see him bat a little bit higher as he continues to play well for the Blue Jays. And then pitcher-wise, still like getting to Cease at 10-9, like him better than Manoah, with how you can't really count on the Orioles to just disappear. They're always fighting, they're always putting up runs, so I feel better about getting to Cease over Manoah. Feel better about getting to Cease over guys like Cortez. I think Robbie Ray definitely in play at 10-30 if you wanted to go his route, but otherwise, I wanted to go value-wise, like Suarez at 8K would be somewhat appealing, but there's not a ton of top-end offenses, and some of the guys are cheap enough on some of these teams that you do want to get bats from. So usually on FanDuel, I'm looking to pay up at pitcher. But that's it for DFS. Look at Prizepicks. So let's see if we can get another sweep today on Prizepicks. First prop that I'm going to give you guys. There's not too many nerfies, unfortunately. After hitting all the nerfies yesterday, they kind of took off the ones I would have considered. But if you're looking at sports books today, looking at nerfies, definitely, let's get this to all day. The Padres, in that ballpark, Padres, Marlins, nerfies on my list. Another one would be, keep scrolling further down here, you have potentially getting to the Rangers one just because of neither offense being great, but both these pitchers are really bad, so I don't have too much confidence in that. But it would be that first one that I mentioned, and then definitely the White Sox one, and then you can consider the Giants one as well in that ballpark, and then possibly even the Mariners one. But on Prizepicks, there's not too much that I feel great about, so skip that today unless they put some more on. But strikeout props, first one is going to be Sean Manaea at over 5.5 strikeouts. If you look at this Marlins team, they've just been slumping recently. Tons of strikeouts in this lineup, up and down. They brought in some of their younger guys and lots of righties for Sean Manaea. So even though that doesn't look great on paper, he has a 25.5% strikeout rate against lefties, almost 6 percentage points higher, and overall a 26.2% K rate for the team. Some of these guys don't have a ton of at-bats, so it's definitely not completely accurate, but as you can see, a ton of guys over 30%. So I love Manaea to get at least 6 strikeouts. Some other over strikeout props could be getting to Dylan Cease if you wanted to at over 7 strikeouts. I think that one could be a push. But with them not having Brantley anymore, more strikeouts there. So hopefully he might be able to get the over. But that's the second one. Some over fantasy props would be some of these pitchers that I do like that are really low. Like starting with Charlie Morton, who's at 28.5, and he's favored against the Mets. He's faced them a lot. Maybe he doesn't have a ton of... This year hasn't had great success against them, but overall he's been good with the strikeouts, and his ERA is like 1.7 lower at home than it is on the road, so hopefully he's able to take advantage of that playing at home. Another one would be some of the late games like Suarez over 23.5 fantasy. I like that as well. I think he can get some strikeouts against the Mariners. Maybe a little bit difficult to get the win against Robbie Ray, but he's been good recently, so hopefully he can maybe flirt with a quality start. And not the worst matchup for him. The way that he's been going at it's been right around the strikeout per inning pitcher this season. So that's the fourth one that I do like. And then the last one is another one. Fantasy-wise, you could take his strikeouts, but Kyle Gibson. So he's at 33.5. He's going up against the Reds. And this Reds team is completely depleted since the trade deadline. Looking at their lineup, you got a bunch of young guys in there. Looking at this team, bottom three, you have a 43% K rate for Aquino, 50 so far, 54 in 26 plate appearances for Barreo, and then the catcher is at 30%, and then otherwise in the middle of the lineup, still 23% for Joey Votto, and India is 27%, and you're looking at majority right-handed hitters for this team, and Gibson a lot better against righties in terms of strikeouts, 22%. So that's what I got on Prizepicks today. Hopefully we can keep it going. If we get another sweep, that would be awesome. But over 7 Ks, Dylan Cease, over 5.5 strikeouts. Sean Manaea, over 20.5 fantasy. Charlie Warren, over 23.5 fantasy. Jose Suarez, and over 33.5 fantasy. Kyle Gibson. Best of luck. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hit the like button before you head out, and I'll see you all next time.